Fellow traders, 'tis I, TheRumpledOne, coming to you on Wednesday, March the 12th, the year's 2025. Let's talk trading. Fantasy Trader with Walmal. These videos are for educational purposes only. Your results may differ from mine and differ from Walmal's. As always, have risk management in place. Never lose more on any one single trade than you are willing to lose. Walmal, a while ago, I've been wanting to do this video about Fantasy Trader. I was reading something, and I think it was more about life than it had to do with trading, but it's when you entertain this fantasy in trading where if you get the indicator or the right settings for the indicator, or if you get this, you do this new method, that all of a sudden you're going to be a profitable trader. And that's just a fantasy.
Oh yeah, big time fantasy. Because now all those things matter. Yes, all those things matter. But does that transform you from a loser into a winner? No, absolutely not. And the perfect way we can go and prove that so easily is you could go and trade a particular method with particular rules, and I can trade the exact same method with the exact same rules, and you could be profitable and I could be a loser. And that's just the reality. So then you got to say, well, what's the difference? You know, and I used to say this all the time. I haven't said this in a long time, but on these videos a couple of years ago, I used to say all the time, you need to go and find the method that suits you as a trader. Okay? You need to find the method that suits you as a trader. In other words, there are a million and a half ways to go and to dice an onion, but there's only one way that's actually correct for you, and you need to figure that out because it comes down to a lot of times your personality and how you see things. I mean, I've said this before, and in TRO, I know that you can go to Tesla. I've said it a million times to you, to other traders, and on these videos, and that is that we got all these methods out here. Now, how many billions of indicators have you written over the years? Okay, and other programmers as well. And what I find so funny sometimes is you go and run the indicator, and it draws a line on the chart where you should go long, where you should go short, so on and so forth. And then you run another indicator, totally different idea about how to go and skin the cat, I guess. And guess what? It goes and puts the same line up there within a couple of pips. And then you start wondering, that's interesting. You know, is there something about that? Is there something out there that's saying we should go and trade long here, trade short there? And why is it that some traders do really well going, let's say, breaking a squiggly line like the EMA5, and they're able to make money on it, and other traders can't, and other traders will go and draw some type of line in the sand, a horizontal line in the sand, and it breaks that line, and they can make money on it, and somebody else can't. It comes down to again, what are you looking for? And how does your brain think? And I think that's got an awful lot to do with it. In fact, you go back and listen to yesterday's video. I was talking about a trade that I took. I took it, on the video itself, and I said, I think you said something along the lines of, "Well, why did you take it?" I got a flip flop box there. It's crossing over a support line or resistance line. I don't recall. It crossed over the EMA5. All these different reasons to go and do it. And if you really got down to it, any one of those reasons could be a legitimate reason to take the trade, and that's what you got to go and and go and recognize. In addition to that, again, it comes down to personality, I think, and in the sense of okay, how do you manage your risk? You know, some people who are out there, they could have literally $1 million in their account, and yet they're afraid to even lose, on $1 million account, they're afraid to lose, $1,000 or $100. Well, guess what? They're not going to be successful. I don't care how hard they try. If they got $1 million in your account and they're afraid to go and, go and lose that money. That means they're going to be afraid to take the risk. And not saying that they won't pull the trigger to get in the trade, but as soon as things go a little bit sideways, they're either going to pull out of the trade before they should pull out of the trade, or what's going to happen is the next time it's time to go and take the trade, they're going to be afraid to pull the trigger to get into the trade. And so they just can't do it. So, maybe that's just the reason not to trade. But at the same time, if you know that that's your weakness, is there something else that you can do to go and combat that, that I don't want to call it shortcoming, but just combat that little, what do I want to call it? A little thing about your personality. For me, what a lot of people say you should only trade in terms of pips. I look at pips at the end. I don't look at pips as a minute. And I'm more concerned about the money, and so I like to go and trade things based on money. And and then some people say that I'm wrong to do that. Well, that's fine. And the thing is, I'm going to go and jump right back at them and say, no, that's wrong for you. It's not necessarily wrong for me. If I'm able to make money doing it that way, and you make money doing it that way. And Hero, I remember the very first conversation that we ever had. And the first conversation we ever had, you said to me, if you're making money, just do it. And don't listen to anything else I say. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. Once you figure out what works for you, you got to just go and do it. And, it's the fantasy of some brand new, indicator coming out and all of a sudden solving all your problems. It's just that. It's a fantasy. There's nothing new that's going to come out that's going to go and do that. You need to go and figure out what you're doing wrong, and is it an emotional problem? Is it a psychological problem? Is it whatever? And and I know I'm talking kind of tough. That's just the reality. You want to go from losing money to making money. You got to figure out what you're doing wrong.
Well,
And can go ahead.
well, I was going to say, I don't like to say wrong because of the connotations. It's like, what do you need to do to be profitable? What do you need to do to stop losing? It's not necessarily wrong. And because I think
Right.
that if you approach it, that means, oh, well, maybe I need to change systems. It's like, and that's usually what people do is they look outside themselves for the solution rather than inside. It's like,
Mm.
at least that's my belief.
I can go in and hold on to that. There's some truth that like I said, I was looking at when I say wrong, I mean wrong for you to be doing. In other words, what are you doing that you shouldn't be doing, or what are you doing or what are you not doing that you should be doing, or what? And what I'm trying to get, I guess my point is that it's not necessarily that there's anything you know, fabulous that an indicator is going to do for you, as much as what's going on as you're trading that's causing you to be afraid or get overexcited or whatever it may be that's causing you to put you into that losing scenario. And it's I guess maybe wrong is a bad word choice, but I like to, not that I like to do it, but I do it, and it's good, bad, or indifferent. I tend to be very, very harsh on myself when I'm doing anything and I'm trying to improve on something. It's just who I am. So, yeah, you're not supposed to deal in absolutes. Well, guess what? I'm an absolute person, so I'm going to deal in absolutes for me.
Yeah,
Somebody
well,
else
it's
doesn't want to
whatever.
deal with
Yeah,
it.
it's what works for you.
Exactly, exactly right. And I think that's the whole thing, And like I said, in the beginning of this video, is that I used to say this all the time to people, just because I'm doing it, and doesn't mean that you can do it. And I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to be, hubris in all of this or anything, because it's a difference in personality, it's a difference in who we are, the makeup of that we are. And at the same time, what I will say is that you sit there and you figure yourself out. And, I'm going to say something that's kind of rough for some people to hear, and that is this: before I really truly believe to become the best trader that you can be, you need to understand yourself. You got to fully understand who you are as a person. That means understanding what makes you tick, what goes and sets you off to go and chase squirrels, what sets you off to go and go and tick your head and stick it in the sand and be afraid to go and come out and play. You need to understand those things. And then what you got to do is you then got to go and then, at least for me anyway, because I'm a rules based person. I once I figured those things out for me, I needed to put all types of rules in place to basically you know, guide me down that path. What I like to go and say is keep me in the river without going over the waterfall, right?
Right.
And that's what I had to go do, and that worked out well for me, and the thing is, what I did for me, it's not necessarily what's going to be good for you. You have to sit down, and have those serious conversations with yourself, and figure those things out. And some people I know are going to say, well, that's a cop out answer. It's not a cop out answer. It's the truth. you know, and I know people don't like to hear that, but the thing is, I can't tell you how you're going to react. There's only one person who can tell you. That's you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sitting here, we got the M30 chart up and we're dancing around the daily open on the pound. And it's one of those things where you could have shorted at 41.9 and you probably could have taken 2 pips. And the question is, how many people, how many traders out there are willing to take those 2 pips? Or are they thinking about, hitting that home run? Once again, that fantasy. Oh, if I had this indicator, look, you could have made 489 pips on this, and you would have made 373 pips on that trade. Yeah, buy this indicator now for 99.95. And if you do, we'll throw in this other indicator and all these books and all this other garbage because you're dumb
Right.
enough to believe in it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just so funny.
Yeah. Well, I'll
I
tell you something.
can't help but laugh.
Yeah, and I'll admit it right here. I've told you, in the past, I did go down that path. I went and signed up and spent thousands of dollars learning how to trade, all stuff that I could have gotten free right here. And didn't do anything for me. Well, I guess in one sense it did because it made it quicker for me to. And it was all laid out in a very very good way, so that it was very easy to learn very very quickly. It wasn't like I didn't have to search for anything. It was all one spot. So that was the one advantage of it. Was it worth thousands of dollars? No, it really wasn't. But at the same time, I'm not going to complain about it. I mean, somebody was selling something. I saw it. I bought it. Whose fault is that? Me. Mine. I own it.
Yeah. No, it's funny
Right.
because I learned all those things, and some of the guys, I'll give a shout out to the guys over at Stock Fetcher because I don't know, I just started playing around with stocks again this year just for the fun of it, and so I've been doing some posts out there, and taking a lot of the things, horizontal line strategies from Forex and implementing a few of those, and like I did the higher high. Lower close, lower low, higher close type of thing, and looking at is it below a certain uh, high, like like the highest low, lowest high, things like that. But I see these people out there. Oh, this one guy's he's the best filter writer or the best stock trader, and he's got all these squiggly lines, and I just crack up. I mean, it's just too funny because here's the best filter, but then here's another best filter right after it. It's
Right.
just so funny. And traders, the fastest 15 minutes in trading is just about over. So I hope maybe you learned something. If you've got any questions, make sure to ask and make sure they're detailed questions because it's not what you trade, It's how you trade it. So go out there and drain the banks. This is the Rumple One.